So, fixation. What exactly is fixation? Fixation is the state of being unable to stop thinking about something or someone. It's an unnaturally strong interest in something. It will guide people to very certain careers, but by creating a very strong but very dangerous tunnel vision. Some fixations can even be described as hyperfixations. This is the state of being so obsessed with your fixation that you begin to forget about everything else around you. Though this may seem fun and harmless, that's actually far from the truth. According to Attention Deficit Disorder Association, this can lead to satisfaction, happiness, and at times increased productivity. But if it is not well managed, you will invest more time and effort than you are willing to give. And then you will begin to take away from your daily tasks and daily needs that you have to do every single day. Because of fixations, you are so obsessed that your world has to relate to everything about your fixation. Your world is no longer ordinary, it is just relations. Maybe your fixation is music, so you closely listen to the beat of everyone's footsteps around you. Or maybe it's history and you start every single conversation with a random fact about history. Or maybe you're like me, fixated on math. Everything must relate to a single equation with only one simple solution. Math has always been my everything. It's been my love and my life. Math was always going to be my downfall though. Since childhood, math has engulfed my mind and my thinking. When I was only 3 years old, I'd ask my mother to give me two numbers to multiply, always begging for them to get bigger and bigger each time. And people would always say to me, "Kay, you're so passionate about math." But I wasn't. I was obsessed. I was fixated. Math was my escape from the world around me. Math was my childhood. It was part of my soul. It made me see the world through new lenses. And I'd always ask myself, how can this relate to math? How do I do this or that? It was a distraction. As I grew older, math got harder and harder each year. I still loved math, of course, but it was still difficult. And the people around me would always find it really difficult, but I always grasped the material pretty quickly and would get perfect test scores. But all my classmates had this exact same question. Why? Why do we need to be doing math? Why do I need to learn math? Why do I need to know how to find the area of a triangle? And then I started to question it myself. Why? Why do I do math? Why do I actually even love math? I've always loved math, but did I ever understand its purpose? I began questioning my love at all. And a few years later, I got introduced to something called the unit circle. And the unit circle is something I'm very passionate about. I'm actually teaching a class about it tomorrow, so I love the unit circle. I would draw it on the top of papers and write it on with chalk on the streets. Unit circle, unit circle, unit circle. I could just only think of unit circle. I was so obsessed that I came up with my own memorization method to teach other people how to remember the unit circle. I was hyper fixated on the unit circle. And as smart as that may make me sound, I also began to neglect the other important aspects of my education. I needed to really understand that why. I dove deep into math and filled my brain with new and unknown knowledge. I needed to figure it out for myself, why I love math. And as I searched for the answers, the world around me became a blur. I was so focused on figuring out that why that nothing else mattered. I forgot about everything. I began to slip. Because I was slipping, my grades were slipping, and so was my understanding in all my other classes. Now, of course, my grade in math was great, but not in any other class. And that's when I realized I was beginning to fail. Eventually, of course, I had answered my question because I was so determined to, I had to. But I was still failing. Something was missing from my life, and I had no idea what it was. So I went to math, because my whole life has been math. So the answer had to lie in math, right? No, of course not. I began drowning in math, and it seemed so unenjoyable to me because I kept missing something that I hated math. I despised math. But even though I despised it, I kept looking for that answer. And that is when I realized that the reason I'm slipping, the reason my understanding is failing, is because I'm too obsessed. I needed to change my fixation. I needed to break away from my fixation and not allow it to control my life anymore. I needed to broaden my horizon. And then, in 8th grade, my teacher had introduced me to the beautiful, organized, and of course nerdy, periodic table. Now, I love the periodic table almost as much as I love the unit circle. I've spent a whole summer just memorizing this. Now, when I discovered the periodic table, I made a conscious decision to not obsess over it. I decided that I wasn't going to let this one thing control my life. I was, of course, still going to love it, but I wasn't going to obsess over it. I wasn't fixated on it, but I was passionate about it. That's when I figured out that I need to apply that exact same thinking to math. I couldn't allow this fixation to control my life any longer. It limited me. It limited what I saw around the world. It manipulated me. I cannot have just one thing controlling me forever. It had power over me, and I made the decision that I was not going to let it have that power over me. I was going to become passionate about it, just like I was passionate about the periodic table. I no longer felt worthless at the idea of not being able to understand a math problem or not being able to relate something to mathematics. And that is when I really realized that the key to overcoming hyperfixation is realizing the problem. The first step is always realizing what is happening is wrong. Now, it's really hard to overcome hyperfixations, but there's lots of different ways you can do it. It shows up differently in every single person, so it's important to understand that not one solution is going to work for everyone. An Oxford specialist in hyperfixation named Megan suggests that you go to neuroassessment about the underlying cause of your hyperfixation. This is going to create a program for you that's going to help you overcome your problems. And not only is this going to help with your fixations, it's going to help with your mental health. A lot of things that it's going to help with is also ADHD, OCD, and people on the autism spectrum. That is where hyperfixations are most often seen. But of course, not everyone wants to go to a professional, and that's a tedious thing. I can already tell I didn't do that. But what you can do is do it individually. And what I found really, really, really important is time. Creating a schedule can be really important so that you have time frames, and you can still do that thing that you are super, super passionate about, but you also can do other things with your day. But I'm not good with schedules personally. No. But I can do time limits. Now, time limits are like, you only get 2 hours a day to play your video games, or only an hour a day to research new math. By setting these time limits, you begin to value your time. You become cognizant of the time that you have, and you want to explore other things. And that's really going to help you is exploration. By exploring your other options and breaking away from that thing you are so fixated on, you are going to really break away from it, and you're going to become passionate. Once you become passionate, your love for your fixation doesn't go away, but you don't need it. You no longer need to be doing something. It's no longer going to be controlling your everyday life. I love math, but I'm not fixated on it anymore. And I care about math, but I won't let it control my everyday life anymore. Now really, what is passion anyways? Passion is a strong feeling towards something or a strong belief. And at a glance, I can tell it sounds pretty similar to fixation, but it goes deeper than that. Passion makes you feel proud and excited. Fixation feels obsessive and disappointing almost. Passionate people want to explore other options, and they still have that sense of self-identity. So they're not drowning in their fixation, and they can create really powerful, really healthy relationships with other people by connecting over their passion. Hyperfixated people, though, they hide behind their fixation. They block themselves off from the world around them. They cannot build those healthy, needed relationships. They push people away because they have nothing to do with their fixation. They're just a person. By letting something control your life and your relationships, you lose your power. So take back your power and become passionate, not fixated.